Go. Good. So what we're going to talk about today is, or tonight, your time. It's 10 o'clock here, Sunday morning in San Jose, California. Myths, facts, and challenges facing blockchain and cryptocurrency. I'm going to roll through the first few slides to make sure that everybody's with me on the same screen. This is a little bit about myself, active in the field of the cryptocurrency and the blockchain. Beside teaching at San Jose State, I also teach at Stanford University, another class in blockchain. You can read whatever you have on the screen here. Many of the local media also, I have done few interviews with them about the very concept of cryptocurrency and cybersecurity and blockchain. I have two books, one of them already in the market, which is talking about secure and smart Internet of Things using blockchain and artificial intelligence. The next one is specifically for blockchain. It's coming out in August of this year. My concept in explaining anything is that if I cannot explain it simply, I don't understand it enough. So this is not me. This is Albert Einstein, actually the one who came up with this statement. But if I cannot explain it in few words, that means I don't understand it. And this should be the case for everything you study, everything you hear about it, everything you wanna explain. Make sure that it's simple, straightforward, few words, and you're done with it. There are two ways for you to understand anything. Either teach it or write about it. If you teach it, you will get questions from many people that will open your eyes and add more to your knowledge. And if you write something about it, you will think about it when you're writing. So those are the two ways for you to be an expert in any topic or subject. Blockchain is part of something called the IBAC, which are the trend for technologies for 2019 and beyond. The first one is the IoT, the Internet of Things, and then the blockchain, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity. So those are the four hot topics here in the Silicon Valley. Whatever you see, whatever you hear about it, is actually under one of the four, or maybe more, of the four trends here. Autonomous cars, driverless cars under the artificial intelligence, security, we talk about it with the cybersecurity, and the IoT is what we are actually doing with Siri, with Alexa, and with Google Assistant. To summarize the four trends that in a way that make sense for so many people, I use this kind of simple slide. IoT feels, so we have all the sensors everywhere. Blockchain remembers, never forget. AI thinks and give you the insights, and cybersecurity protects. So this is how you explain it to people so they understand the different trends. I want to dive into the concept of blockchain. The blockchain itself is it's one of the buzzword here. It's in the Silicon Valley. It's very hot when it comes to as a technology. A lot of companies, they're doing a lot of work with it in this kind of technology and in this kind of field. To understand it first, let's define it. There are many ways for you to define the blockchain. The first one is the blockchain is a software. So this is going to make it easy for everybody to understand what is a blockchain. Blockchain is a piece of code that you have it as part of the business application, and that's going to help you achieve security. And by having this kind of database, that it is immutable, it's available for so many nodes, so nobody can change it. If you change one of the nodes, the other nodes will sync with it and understand there's some changes there. If you look at the definition of blockchain, this is what you're going to find. And I'll leave this for you guys to read it from Wikipedia. It's an open, distributed, it can record transaction between two parties, and it's efficiently and variable in a permanent way, which is fine. This definition is okay. It's just, it doesn't serve the purpose of trying to understand what exactly blockchain and how it's different from what we have now in databases. The best definition of blockchain, I got it from Professor Abel Sanchez from MIT, and he gave a very nice, clear, cut, sweet definition of blockchain. And that definition was cryptography plus human logic. And I'm going to spend a few seconds here trying to explain the two parts mentioned by Dr. Abel. And I worked with him, and I was studying blockchain at MIT. So the whole thing about the cryptography is what we have now. Everything is encrypted. Everything is secure by using the encryptions. But that's what we have: firewalls, encryption techniques. The human logic is the consensus protocols. And the example I always give about blockchain is if you enter a building, if that building is following the traditional way or the current existing systems, there will be a security guard, and that security guard will be there, and that guy or that girl will be there standing and verify your credential, username, password, and you're in. And after that, when you can do whatever you want. But if we apply the blockchain concept to the building, that every single person in that building, whether you have 20, 30, 40, 100, each one of them will verify that you should be in that building, inside that building, by looking at a ledger, list names and pictures, and verify that you are who you are, and also you are permitted to be on the premises. And that's the human logic. And once I verify this one, I talk to the next person. This guy is okay, this guy is okay. And this is called the syncing. And there is a funny name for it. It's called the gossip protocol. And you can Google that. You're going to see this is what they're using to sync the different nodes of the blockchain. So this is the difference between the existing systems and the traditional system we are using here, and the crypto and the blockchain systems. 5 components of the blockchain: the cryptography, which is the SHA-256, which is SHA, the secure hashing algorithm 256, and the peer-to-peer network, node-to-node, and the consensus mechanism, which is proof of X, proof of work, proof of stake, proof of assignment, proof of authority, whatever consensus you want to use in the blockchain. The ledger, where you can record the thing, and some validity rules you can use to confirm. Smart contract is an example of the validity rules. Example of the SHA-256 is you have the text, which is a normal natural language, and then you have the hash function, which is the encryption function, and that's going to generate some kind of a string of letters and numbers. This is what's actually sent and received when it comes to communication between the nodes. So this is give an idea about what happened to inside the encryption. If you look at the blocks, the first block, and they call it the Genesis block, that one is the starting block. It exactly has the same component. We talk about them: the index, the time stamp, the previous hash, and the hash and the data. The interesting part of it is when you're talking about this second or the first block, and starting from 0, here it's going to be the first. Whatever information in the previous one will be encrypted and added to the one after that, and the same thing goes with the next one, and same thing goes. So if you change anything in one of them, the whole thing will collapse. You're going to have a warning, and then you're going to have other nodes here. They are actually copying the same information you have. So that's very important to keep in mind when it comes to that part. Okay. I think I'm stuck with this. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So this is an example. Now, how can we erase this?
I think, Professor Ahmed, you can try stop sharing, then share again.
Okay. No, that's okay. It's going
I see
well.
It's fixed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just to clear that one. Okay, so this is an example of the block. This what's inside the block. And if you look at if you remember what we had on the previous slide, you're going to see the timestamp and transactions and previous hash. Let's give you an idea about how it's really represented as a software. And this is an example of smart contract. And smart contract usually written by Solidity, which is a language created by Ethereum. And it's not difficult. It is a very easy language, and it makes sense. It's close to the natural language when you're talking about the different steps. Blockchain programming can be done by different languages, and this is just a sample. C++ was the programming language for the Bitcoin. You're talking about Python, you're talking about JavaScript, you're talking about Solidity, you're talking about Java. There is so many of them. There is something called Geth, which is a combination of Go, programming language from Google. This is actually used by Ethereum to build the platform. If you're interested in building a platform or you're trying to understand what's going on with the Ethereum platform. Another part of the story here is that what we have here, what you see in the screen is the patents. You're going to see that this is the filing. It's as a pending or approved or accepted. So the top one is IBM, and it's not a surprise because IBM is a leading company when it comes to private blockchain. They have their own Hyperledger blockchain systems, and they're working with so many companies, including Walmart and other companies. And then after that one, Bank of America, and you can read the rest of the of the company. So really posting or filing their patent for the blockchain. Uh, Blockchain versus database. This is actually a question all the time people ask about it. What's the difference between the two? It's very simple, when you talk about the blockchain and how it's compared to the database. And I have this diagram, and I'm going to send the PowerPoint here to you guys after we're done. So very quickly talking about the blockchain versus the database. The authority is decentralized for the blockchain, while for the database, it's actually the administrator has the centralized role. For the architects, the blockchain is distributed, while you're talking about the database, you're talking about client-server architects, which is centralized. The data handling is blockchain utilized read and write operations. You're gonna write it, and that's it, and you're gonna only read that. The database supports something called CRUD, which is, if you took database, you know what I'm talking about. It's create, read, update, and delete. They have all the 4 functions. The blockchain data support integrity, which means you cannot change it. Once it's there, it's done. The database, you have a malicious actors can alter the database. And the transparency, it's public, offers transparency. Of course, you're not going to see all the informations, and this is one misconception about blockchain. If you look at a transaction, and I'm going to show you a transaction I did for the token, you only see the encrypted address from to. You see the amount, which is 20 Ether or 20 Bitcoins or 100 Bitcoin. That's what you see. But you don't see who is sending, who's receiving. This is encrypted part of that. But the transaction itself is transparent. There's something going on between one node and the other. For the cost, it's very hard to implement it, especially if you're using the concept of proof of work, where you have to use the hardware to mine the Bitcoin, and also to find an answer for the mathematical problem given to you, so you can start the blockchain. Database and all technology, easy to implement, so many expertise. You name a company, IBM, Oracle, Microsoft, you name it, all of them, they have their own databases. Performance blockchain is actually bogged down by the consensus protocol, so it's slow, while you're talking about the database is very fast and it's scalable. It's easy to go from one to the other. Now, this is some of the applications we have on the for the blockchain. I'm not going to go all over all of them, but just give you an idea that it's not just the cryptocurrency. Digitization of document, the digital identity, the escrow account for buying and selling stuff like houses, insurance, the order fulfillment, talking about the patient records, the IoT, Internet of Things, proof of ownership. We can keep that one forever and nothing will change. So this is just a quick review of what the blockchain can do other than the cryptocurrency. Types of the blockchain itself. This one here, because this is bothering me. The types of the blockchain are 3 types. The first one is the private. The second one is the public, and the public is like the Bitcoin, like the Ethereum, the Litecoin. All of them are public. Public means you can go to the website and download the app, and you are part of that network. You are actually a node. The private one is for the company. The company will, commission IBM to create their own private blockchain network. And this is what happened is they will select 500 nodes, 500 employees, and those only the 500 can join it. If I am one of the employees and I'm not selected, I cannot join that. The federated or the hybrid is different companies. They have their own different private blockchain, but they can exchange information among themselves. It's not just one. And this is a solution for banks, solution for financial institutions, solution for the government, where they can deal with different private blockchains. The whole thing started with this paper. It's this one is by Satoshi Nakamoto. I mean, nobody knows if this is a real person, if this is an organization, or this is, you know, a fake person, he or she. Nobody knows. It's just it's the nobody met that person. So, but if you go to this website, it's very nicely, constructed, has a lot of information in different languages. It's the first paper created about Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash. That is his or her or their dream, to have a peer-to-peer and to shortcut the centralized bank, and you don't have to deal with any kind of authority. You can send and receive money. And I don't want to spend too much time in this, but if you read this paper, and you can skip the technical part of it. If you read this paper, you will never see the word blockchain. Blockchain as a term came later, but this is 11 years ago. But he was talking about, you know, the concept that we built the blockchain on. The history of the blockchain is interesting when we talk about how it started. It's not a new technology. You know, when I was studying for my graduate study, we used to have the distributed computing, and it was clear to us that this is really more powerful. It's just how to sync it, and it's progressed in the way until we get to this part, which is the implementation. 2018, 2019. The period of the 18 and 19 is really a period where the implementation. We moved from the PowerPoint presentation to the pilot programs. And I've seen this in many of the companies I'm talking to. I have few companies that I give a presentation. The reason for this is they understand that the technology is good. It's just they have no idea how to implement it. They're not talking about, we don't understand the technology. You'd like to see how this is going to help us in our own, in our company. The stack of the blockchain, an interesting thing for you if you're a technical person. You love this picture, you love this graphics. Each and every layer here is actually a startup. It's an idea for you to start your company or to start with your friends a company. Whether it is the blockchain protocols you're going to use, whether it is how it's be connected to the internet, or how the application layer from the smart contract to the dApps. And at the top of that one, which is the user experience, the desktop, the smartphone, and tablets. How can you design an app with the front end and back end that will interact with the blockchain? So this is a nice way for people to think about, okay, so I like the blockchain technology. How do I get involved? I mean, look at the stack, and you pick and choose which entry point you'd like to have your company in. Cryptocurrency. Now we're going to talk about the cryptocurrency. And the cryptocurrency itself is a fascinating thing because it's talking about money. And every time you talk about money, you will get the attention of people. And the cryptocurrency as the concept as a digital money, very hard for some people to understand. Some people look at it as an opportunity. You can read so many stories about it. The problem with it is unregulated so far. And what's unregulated, that means the wild, west. So everybody can do whatever they want with that. For example, if you look at the countries that the cryptocurrencies around the world that shares this, of the people who are owning cryptocurrency, Turkey is number one, 20%. They ask people, and 20% of the people, they ask 1,000, they say, yes, I have a cryptocurrency. And they talk about Brazil, and then Colombia, Argentina, South Africa, Mexico, Chile, and so on. And if you look at the names here, with all due respect to those countries, you will find out that the countries who have, the banking system has some issues, they go with the cryptocurrency. They would like to have a shortcut away from the central bank so they can send and receive their money without the involvement of the government. I created my own. I have a 1 million Banafa coin. And you look at this one here, it's here. I created that one 2 days ago. NPR, the public station here in the United States, they contacted me, asked me about the cryptocurrency, and I told the chief of the bureau there at NPR, I told her, just give me 3 seconds, I'll create my own coins. And I created, and I sent her the copy of the transaction. And if you look at this is an example. Etherscan is a browser used to see the transactions on the Ethereum platform. And they will give you that it is success, and this is from to. So this is from where it came, where I created the coin sent to my account as a contract, and I receive it. And if you look here, it's Banafa coin, it's 1 million. I can create 1 billion if I want. And at Stanford and at San Jose State, it is a requirement. I ask my student to create their own coin. The only problem with it, it is worthless. If you look at the value here, 0, because nobody's interested in buying any of our coins. I mean, who will buy a Banafa coin? Nobody. It is not something that people will be interested. You only get value if you go to the exchange, and people are interested in buying your coins. Creating that one is simple code. You process it, you're done, you get your coins. Let's talk about Libra. Libra is an interesting, until this morning, I was talking to one of the reporter about Libra, because there's some breaking news about Libra. There's some issues with the white paper. So what is Libra? Libra itself, when it came to the market, this is what happened. It's a rash of interviews with CBS and ABC and CCTV and NPR and even a Greek newspaper interviewed me about what is Libra. What does that mean, Libra itself? So let's see what is the best definition of Libra, the cryptocurrency created by Facebook. Libra is something between PayPal and Bitcoin. It is exactly like the PayPal, which is a payment service without the fees, and it is similar to Bitcoin, but without the speculation or the fluctuation. So this is how we define it. I will give you a cryptocurrency that will serve you as a PayPal or Venmo, if you're using Venmo too, without the fees. You don't have to pay fees for that. At the same time, it will be like the Bitcoin, which means you can use it anywhere. There's no fluctuation, because Bitcoin is really very is very widely moved. You'll have it a month, which will be 4,000, next month will be 10,000, and sometimes will go to 20,000 in 2017. So there is no, it's the demand and the supply here is unreasonable. Some facts on why people think that the cryptocurrency created by Facebook will be big, because Facebook has 2.4 billion users. So this is the base, and they managed to gather another 27 companies, part of Libra.org, to join them in this project. One of them is Visa, and Visa has 2 billion credit cards in circulation, and Visa used by 40 million stores or merchants. The Vodafone have 444 million customers, so they're part of that organization. Uber has 91 million riders. So if you can offer this service to people to use Libra instead of the cash, with all the numbers we listed here, you're talking about something close to 4 billion people are using this kind of service. So that's more than half of the population of this planet, and that's why it's big. That's why the Congress is going after Facebook. 2 weeks ago, they have a very tough hearing about it, and they ask them to slow down, not to go ahead until they make sure that everything is okay. So this is the Libra.org. This is the one that created by Facebook, and it's in Switzerland, and they have all those companies. Some of them you can recognize the names, like eBay, Spotify, Uber, MasterCard, and Visa, Lyft. And they have mix of many of those companies, profit, non-profit, and they have their own wallet, which is called Calibra. I'll talk about it in a second, which is created by Facebook. With this one, we can use in two applications, in WhatsApp and the case of the Messenger. And this is another way to look at them according to their categories: the blockchain companies, the social media and telecommunications, e-commerce, payments, investment. So this trying to make sure that they have it everywhere. And this is 27 plus. Facebook, they're looking for 100. That's going to be the cap. They're looking for 100 companies. In order for you to get into this exclusive club, you have to pay, as a company, $10 million minimum, and you will join that club and you will be part of this organization. So for now, the Calibra, the wallet, will not make any money. What they are talking about is we would like to make sure that the payment system is working. And later on, we'll talk about investment and lending. And I'm going to get to a point where I know that most of us, in the Middle East already use that. It's not something new, which is I use WhatsApp for selling and buying stuff. I can, a lot of stores, they will have their store on WhatsApp. It's already monetized in this sense. And Facebook is trying to make this one for everywhere, not just outside the United States, trying to make it everywhere for people to use that application so they can buy and sell using their own currency. They're trying to, and I'm talking about Facebook. Facebook is trying to mimic, trying to copy WeChat. WeChat, the famous messenger app in China, and that one has about 1.1 billion users. It's not just a communication. It's actually used for many things. Used for paying, for the services, paying for the product. You go to the restaurant, you just show the QR, and they take it right over from your bank account, your credit card. So this is what they're trying to get into. They're trying to get into the case of you are buying a cup of coffee. You scan a code. You're riding a public transportation. You don't have to carry that cash or that the pass. So this is how they think about it, for now. The global coin, yes, this is where Facebook is trying to get to, is to be a global coin, but there's a lot of resistance from so many countries, especially the EU. They have an issue with this. I'm not going to go to the politics about this one, but the companies like Visa, MasterCard, why they're going to join that? They join this one for the dividends on the interest. Because if you want to have a 10 Libra, you have to pay $10. I'm using the US as an example here. That $10 will be taken from my account, and Facebook will give you, through that wallet, will give you 10 Libra, and you can go and buy it from the merchant who will accept it. If you want to sell something, you will get the Libra, and then you can transfer it to your account, and it's going to be converted to dollars. It's 1 for 1. The money that you transfer to the account, to Facebook account, that money will earn interest, and this is what the companies is going after. And we can imagine if you have millions of people, depositing that money and have it in a certain bank, then that will earn a lot of interest. And it's not going to be just interest. They're going to invest it. They're going to make sure that it's really making money out of that money. Problem with it, if it's got hacked, or it's unreliable, because Facebook has a history of this. This is not the first time for them to try to monetize WhatsApp or Messenger. They tried that one in the past with something called credit, Facebook credit. It failed badly, and now they're trying with the help of other companies. Now let me talk about the plumbing, what's under the hood for the Libra blockchain. The size of the transaction is 5K, so it's very small. The processing will be 1,000 transaction per second. That's reasonable. I mean, Visa and MasterCard, they don't like it because the minimum requirement for Visa and MasterCard is 24,000 transactions per second, so it can be part of the network. But this one can be done through the applications of Facebook, so it's acceptable here. The technical requirement, you're talking, you need a connection in 40 meg, and you need 16 terabyte for the SSD. So that is the requirement for you to be part of the Libra. If there was an attack, which means somebody hacked the system, and that compromises over 1/3 of the of the nodes, they will stop it, and they will have something called fork. Forking in blockchain means you stop everything and you start over again, and you forget about everything happened before that. So this is their answer for the hacking. The future of Libra blockchain is now, the future is to be public, not to be private. Now it is permission. They want it to be, open for everybody in 5 years. And this is what they're talking about when we're talking about what are we going to do in 5 years. What kind of a programming language used for Libra? They use something, programming language called Move, and it's not completely established, but it's a very nice programming language. Nowadays, Facebook is using Rust programming language, if you heard about it, until they finish all the libraries and the classes for the Move language, but they release it. I mean, if you look at the white paper of of Facebook, you're going to find some of the pieces of the code used for Libra. So the move coding languages, again, it's an easy one. It's similar to Python. It is straightforward. It's not difficult to read. So I have some samples of it to show you some of the samples for the move language. In this one is peer-to-peer payment. This one is talking about when you deposit Libra, and this is come with the withdrawal of Libra. So this give you, if you look at, it makes sense. Deposit the value, the coin references, the value, all of these things, simple, straightforward programming code. It's not difficult to understand, and it's a very nice, easy one. It's also light on the in the hardware. You don't have to, have a state-of-the-art hardware. So because they know that they're trying to serve part of the world. 1.7 and bank, they call them the 1.7 billion and bank people in the world. They don't have access to the bank, and this is why Libra is created. They are working with the HackerOne, and this is a bug bounty system. If you never heard about the bug bounty system, Google that. Google have it, Microsoft, Facebook, all the big companies, they have this this kind of a bounty system where if you find anything wrong with the code, you submit that and you inform the company, and will pay you. And I know about few stories about this one locally here in the in the valley, where high school student, they found out about holes in the code, or some kind of problems with the code for Google, and Google want to pay that student $10,000 for which can go from $10,000 to $500,000. That's the range for the bounty. But the students said, no, I don't want money. I want to work at Google, and they give him a job. After he finished his high school, he started going to college, and at the same time he was working at Google. In a nutshell, what is Libra? Libra is a decentralized open source blockchain. It's a very low volatility cryptocurrency and a smart contract platform, which means it depends on a language like Solidity, and it's built on the Ethereum platform. Now, there's some myths about it, and I'm trying to make sure that I am on time for this. Okay. Number one is Libra is a permission blockchain. That's not true. Within 5 years, they're going to go with the permissionless blockchain, which is the public one. They're going to be like Ethereum and Bitcoin and Stellar. This is going to be open for anybody can join them. You don't have to be part of the network. And is pegged with the US and the fiat. The fiat is a word used for money printed by the government. Well, it's yes and no. At the same time, it is $1 for 1 Libra. But later on, you're going to find that it's fluctuating because of that. Because Libra is backed by bank deposit and short-term government securities. 1 Libra will be throughout the day like the dollar. If you have the dollar going up and down, it's going to follow the movement of the dollar very easily here. The third one is backed by money in the bank. Part of it, not all of it. So people deposit that money to get the Libra coins, and they're not going to keep that money in the bank. And I'm talking about the Libra organization, Facebook, and the others. They're going to have a small part of it which is going to earn interest. You're not going to get anything out of it. The rest of it will be invested. So this is when we talk about money in the bank. And why this is very important to understand, because there are some problems. I'm going to talk about them in a second here when we talk about the issues with Libra. 4 problems here with Facebook new cryptocurrency. The 4 problems. The first one is the organization, in order for you to have a system like this, which is a payment system, banking, Facebook is not qualified to do this, in a sense of they never done something like this. Is huge. You have to pay attention to details. There's a lot of enormous investment, compliance systems. So this is a big issue for Facebook, and that's why they're asking other members of the Libra organization to help them establishing something like this, and making sure that this one is really, it will succeed in their own calculation. There's a tax problem. There is a money laundering. All of these things will be part of that. So this is one thing. It's a big thing for them to move into a field like this. In the United States, they separate the investment from, or the, from the banking and the commerce. So there is, since the Civil War, the United States has a general provision on intersection between banking and commerce. So you cannot, the bank cannot, compete with their own customers with their customers, because the bank will win. The bank has all the information. Once you receive your money from one of your client, then the bank know that it's coming from this person. And so if they see the price, they can give your customer a better price. So they're trying to avoid this one. This is going to be an issue here, because you look at the list of the companies, we have them in the Libra organization. There is a problem, which is now we are mixing the commerce and the banking. And that's going to be an issue for Facebook. The third one is, what if everybody want to cash their Libra? Suddenly, everybody, there's something called run on the bank. They say, I'm done. You have 1.7 billion people. They say, I need my money now. Do we have enough cash in the bank, in the deposit, that will pay them off? At the same time, there's something called the stress. This is part of something called the stress test for the banks, where do you have enough money to deal with a situation like this? We have something similar to this one in 2008, where the financial problem happened, where everybody went to ATM, would like to get their money and pull it out. So that's another issue. The third one is the money, the dollar, used as a political, I call it a political weapon, that the United States used this one to have sanction against other countries. And if you have Libra, they don't have to deal with the dollar. They can just shortcut the whole thing and then get into trade without using the dollar. So those are 4 problems here. Okay, let me just look here to see how far I am. Okay, next. There's another problem. If you look at this website, I'll give you 1 second to look at it to see if you can recognize this one. This website is a current website. It's called Buy Sell Libra Coins Online. Libra is not out yet. It's going to be out in 2020, and we have websites, and those websites are really selling fake Libra coin. I showed you that you can create all the cryptocurrency in any cryptocurrency in 3 seconds. So there are fake websites now. They're selling and buying Libra, which does not even exist, and people actually get fooled by this. Now Facebook knows about it, and they are removing this kind of website from Facebook pages. And the same thing is Ethereum is taking an action. When I tried to access that website 2 days ago, I get this message. And this message saying this is a phishing detection, telling me that this website is fake. They're trying to sell you a coin that does not exist. So, and this is one thing that, can be, this is a byproduct of the excitement of people to buy something and to make money out of it, because I buy it now. When Libra comes to the market, I can sell it. It's fake. And I showed you that Banafa coins, I can name it to Libra coin. I can just change the name. It's just change the name to Libra coin, and people think that it is the real Libra. Some of the challenges facing the blockchain, this is going to make it more technical. Number one is the 51% attack. If you can conquer 51% of the nodes, remember the example of the building. If you can convince out of the 100, if you can convince 51, 52 people that you're supposed to be in this building, then you can overcome any questions about your existing in that building. And this is, you need a lot of power. You need a good reason for that. The main purpose for blockchain is not to have let's say that a completely protected, secure system. It's to make it so difficult economically, technically, for the bad actors to get into the system. I mean, example of this, I give it to my students. I tell them, okay, why people go and rob the banks? Because the money is there. That's the answer for that one. But if you go and try to rob a bank, and there are snipers at the top of the bank, and there's 5 or 6 police cars around the bank, I mean, it's not worth it. You're going to say, forget it. I know there's money there, and I can do it if I try harder this one, but it's not worth it for me. That's exactly what the blockchain is doing. It's so hard for people to go and manipulate and change the information, because there's so many difficult levels you have to go through before you can do that. And the private key security, that's another thing, that if you are not keeping your private key secure, it's going to be a problem. Criminal activity is the reputations of the cryptocurrency with the ransomware. Companies are really struck by a wave of the ransomware. We have one in San Francisco where you open your computer, or the computer is in the building, and you have that red screen saying that you have to pay us that much in cryptocurrency so we can give you the code to unlock the screens. Double spending is trying two transactions with the same information at the same time. The transaction privacy leak and the criminal smart contracts, where the smart contract is a code. If somebody has anything inside that code that malicious, that can change and modify it, it can do some damage to the blockchain. And also the smart contract problems, the under optimization of a smart contract, and we don't have enough time to talk about this, but I can give you stories about what happened with the examples of the code for the smart contract. Now, more challenges is scalability. Scalability is also another problem because of the different nodes. That the bigger the network of the blockchain, the harder for you to sync the different nodes. The processing time, the processing power, the storage over time, the regulations, now we're talking about it. The public perception about the blockchain is the Bitcoin, and this is a big problem for so many of the startups. We don't have skilled staff, and you guys at Udacity doing a wonderful job by filling this this gap, because not that many people actually knows that much about the blockchain technology. And the first mile and the last mile problem, before you enter the information to the blockchain, make sure it's correct, because garbage in, garbage out. That's the concept. The blockchain will not tell you this. It doesn't make any sense. But you enter that information, you type that information, you upload that information, the blockchain is going to stay there. And the same thing, after you receive it and you have it outside the blockchain network, then you can do whatever you want. This is called the last mile problem. Talking about the careers for the blockchain, in order for you to be successful in the blockchain world, you need to have four skills, top four blockchain skills. You have to have this business sense, and the business sense is not the technical, it's more than that. You have to understand why people want to do the blockchain. You have to understand, you have to explain it, and if you remember the first slide, if you cannot explain it in a few words, you don't understand it completely. You have to have the literacy of the tech, the terminology, the updates about the blockchain. All of these things has to be available for you. And also you know how to analyze data. So which data you should have in the blockchain. And also you have to have the hacker mentality. Now the hacker mentality means you learn on the go. I mean, some of the information we talk about, it's not even exist, and as a documentation. Talking about, a problem, some of the problem with Libra. I mean, what is this language? Can I get more information? I mean, I'm trying to hack into the whole mindset of people who are creating Libra, so I can understand what will be their next step. So you have to have the business, you have to have the tech, you have to have the analytic, and also to have the mentality of being curious about it. And if you hear anything new about the blockchain, just spend some time trying to understand what does that mean. Sample of some of the jobs that are available that I have seen them in here in the Silicon Valley, something called the blockchain architect. IBM is looking for people to fill that position. There is a research scientist for blockchain. Visa card is looking for that, and the Coinbase, the famous exchange we have in the Silicon Valley, is looking for blockchain product manager. So we can think about all the positions, just add blockchain next to it. Blockchain developer, blockchain engineer, blockchain product manager, and blockchain attorney, a legal consultant. You need that one, because this will add to the smart contract. Because you translate the legal requirement into a code. As a programmer, you don't have idea about that. You change this one to a code, and that's going to make it more intelligent to have the smart contract. In the Valley, the average salary for somebody who's doing the blockchain as a developer is $146,000 per year, and that's about what, $12,000 every month, approximately. The last thing we're going to talk about is some of the mistakes. Some of the mistakes for to avoid in the blockchain well, actually more than that in the project. Number one is you misunderstood or misused the blockchain. Blockchain is more than a database. It's way more than that. So you're paying the price for a database, but you're getting other feature, decentralized consensus, tokenization, smart contracts. So if you have this huge, big, powerful machine, and you're only using few sections of it, you're wasting the time, you're wasting your money. So this is, you have to understand it. This is number one before you start even talking about a blockchain as a possible solution. The second one is it's not ready yet. There is so many things have to be done to the blockchain so it will be mature. It's at the beginning of the growth cycle in the product life cycle. So it's still immature, large scale still, implementation is not there. The only large scale we have is the Bitcoin and the Ethereum, and there's some issues with that. The third one is you confuse the protocol with the business solution. And this is very important, and I want everybody to really understand that. The blockchain itself is not a business application. It has an interface and has a back end. It is a foundation level technology. Means what? You have to create the UI. You have to create the UX. You have to create the back end for it, and you can use it in the middle. You can build at the top of that. And the stack I showed you, you will see the blockchain is in the middle. You have the internet at the bottom, and you have the UX and the UI at the top. So when you propose the blockchain, you have to understand that you have to bring other people. They can have this nice user interface for people to can enter the data. The same thing, what happened after the data is out of the blockchain, where it's going to go. So this is an important part. The third one is you look at it as a database or storage mechanism. It's way bigger than that. It's more than just a database or a storage. There's so many things you can do with the blockchain. And you think that the different systems of the blockchain is really can talk to each other. They don't. Not yet. None of them can talk to that except through some kind of intermediate intermediate protocol, something called Cosmo. The Cosmo is done, or you can look at it talking to the outside the blockchain with something called Oracle. Not the Oracle company. If you Google Oracle, blockchain, you will get the answer for that. So we need a standardization. We still need some kind of standards that IBM can talk to the blockchain from Microsoft, from Amazon. They can talk to each other. That's going to take a while for us to get there. And smart contract is not going to solve everything. Smart contract is again, it's a piece of code, and it's will add a dynamic behavior, but you need to think before you do that. There's so many issues with the smart contract before we can apply it. And also the governance, who's responsible for this, for the for any kind of mistakes. And I think I gave an example last time about that investor in Canada who died, and he has $107 million worth of Bitcoin in his account, and nobody can access that account. And it's actually the $107 million belongs to his customers, to his clients. He's an investor, and nobody can get in. And if we have a smart contract that can deal with this kind of situation, we're gonna lose $107 million. The applications, the first application here is the Internet of Things. The blockchain can hit the sensors part, the network, the cloud, where you can store the information, it's never changed, and also the applications. And this is just an overlook of the enterprise blockchain with all the names. You can look at most of the names here. You can recognize them from Amazon to Alibaba to to FedEx and UPS, and all of them are providing the service as a blockchain or trying some of this as a pilot. And then you talk about the exchange and the startup. MIT has its own digital degree, and I encourage you to Google the two names I have at the bottom, CV Trust and Accreditable. Those are companies that provide you with a digital degree beside your paper degree, and it is really valid. Why? Because all the employees who are part of the blockchain of the companies, they know that this information is valid. The Walmart has their IBM Food Trust with the trace and track the food when it comes to all this, from the farms to the consumers. If there is any outbreak of food poisoning or anything happening with it, they can go and check which farm instead of shutting down the whole system. The next one is the advertising, and advertising is a big problem for counting the number of the impression. I'm a YouTuber and or somebody famous on Instagram or Snapchat, and I have all these activities. How can I know that the number of the impression, number of the likes is really true? There is actually a protocol proof of view that you use to fight fraud. Supply chain used the blockchain big time, and if you look at the flow, this is a real company that they gave a presentation at my class. You add the information as you go with all the transactions, so nothing will change. When you receive it at the end, you can verify whatever in the truck, whatever in the box with that information. DocuSign, documentation, signature protocol, or a company use that. Starbucks using it, Ticketmaster using it. And also the United Nations is actually sponsoring a program in a Jordan refugee camp, the Syrian refugees. That what happened is because they left the country, there's no IDs, they have new kids, so they document them and their ID being verified by using their eyes, and using their thumb, print, by using all the biometrics. And if they want to leave the camp, go to another country, they give them an ID that it is, approved by the UN. The return drug is the same thing. They use Merck as a big company working with SAP, and they're using an app called ATTP, which is Advanced Track and Trace for pharma. And this one is used to track the return medications. And that one will be used with a very specific information about the return drugs. So I think I'm hitting my 3 minutes after that one. Okay, I'm done. This is my information. You can join me on LinkedIn. You can email me, or you can join me on Twitter. I'll be more than happy to help you if you have any questions.